Let's get straight into our main discussion for the day. Will incumbent Governor Willie Obiano of the Abga be re-elected is the big question. Or will it be Tony Ngoe of the APC, or Aseloka Obaze of the PDP, or Sita Chidoka of the UPP, or Godwin Ezemo of the PPA?
Very interesting question there. Now, our crew is already on the ground in Anambra State, and of course, we'll be giving you live updates as the days go on up to November 18. That's Saturday when that election comes up. TVC News senior political correspondent Ayo Dele Ozumbaku joins us now from Anambra State, and of course with him is the convener of Watching the Vote movement, Ezenwa Nwagu, who we had on the show yesterday. Good morning, Ayo. How are you?
Good morning, Ngozi. Nice to hear from you today.
Yes, indeed. So what can you tell us about developments so far? It's 48 hours to the election day for 5-horse race. That's how it's been described. Just tell us what we need to know.
Yes, Ngozi, today is the last day for campaigns. By 12 midnight today, everything about campaign would have officially come to an end, and it's now going to be a game of these 37 candidates trying to become the governor of Anambra State. Yesterday, the president came to Anambra State after almost over 2 years that he has been in office. He came to Anambra State, and the people they call India Anambra received him, and the crowd was they were very happy, and everybody wanted to catch a glimpse of President Muhammadu Buhari, and Buhari was accompanied with by the APC governors majorly. And yesterday, the drama that unfolded when I got to the airport, when I got to Alex Ikweme Square, I saw the governor of Anambra State, that's the incumbent, the Governor Obiano. He came into that particular square. I think it was all about his security details that, were withdrawn by the Inspector General of Police. He came to see the president. I saw him having a tete-a-tete with Mr. President. Mr. President directed the Inspector General of Police to restore his security details, and we saw it in the news yesterday. And I won't be doing this alone today, because what we'll be doing from today, I'll be telling you, we'll be talking to civil society organizations, people that are meant to be policing the old system and policing the process. And I have Ezenwa Nwagu, Watching the Votes. That is the organization is representing here today in Anambra State. But if you want to know, Ezenwa Nwagu is also is the chairman of Partners for Electoral Reforms. Ezenwa, nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Ayo. Nice being here.
Yesterday we did this, but we did it through a phone.
Absolutely.
Now, from what you've been tracking since you got here, the level of preparedness of the Independent National Electoral Commission, how would you describe it? The stakeholders meeting that was held, and today we were told that sensitive materials is going to come from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And how would you describe the process so far?
Well, I think, Ayo, we were excited because if you were with us at the stakeholders meeting, and the resident electoral commissioner in Anambra State, Dr. Nkwachiku Oji, and the chair of INEC, Professor Mahmood, gave us clear impression that they were on top of the situation, that this is for perhaps, and even Professor Iban, who is in the INEC commission, the INEC commissioner in charge of Anambra and most of the southeast states, gave a good account of their level of preparedness in terms of from 6 months ago when the timetable came out, that this is perhaps the first election in the history of our country that they've invested so much into its planning. So the integra for me would be to see that on the 18th of November, that most of all these plans that have been rolled out.
Would this be a precursor to what we're expecting in 2019? Because the INEC chairman actually brought out one other spreadsheet telling us that they've injected a kind of innovation into the process.
Yes, it's an improvement into reporting, the results reporting.
Because that's
now you
critical.
have the name of candidates ingrained in the results sheets that will be pasted. And he made that point, and I think the media and everybody concerned should ensure that we ensure that that happens, that the result sheets are pasted, and that he said that people can take a snapshot.
The result sheet will be pasted on the polling unit after the exercise, and you can take a snapshot and send to INEC.
You were there. I said you can take a snapshot.
That immediately after the exercise, the counting is done, all the results will be displayed.
So that means that party agents who derelict in their responsibility will have themselves to blame.
So this situation that we have results at the polling unit changing between the polling unit and local governments.
That's not going to happen if you have conscientious, if you have effective, if you have efficient party agents. They are able then to be able to assemble the 400 and more than 4,000 polling units. If you are able to put party agents in all these polling units,
you track
then
it.
You are able then to compute the results
even before INEC.
Even before yourself. If you remember, in Osun State, when the Osun election was taking place, you had a dashboard. You had TV sets in almost very strategic places within the town.
I saw one at Okefia.
Yes, and then the results were coming out. So as the results were coming out from polling unit to polling unit, even though the law is very clear that
nobody can declare
the results, but at least the results that have been declared by INEC in polling units can then be accessible to citizens and interested stakeholders to be able to track. So that's some very, very critical.
Talking about security now.
Yes.
Because I know at the stakeholders meeting, you stood up twice to raise some concerns.
Yes.
Did the Inspector General of Police address those concerns that you raised?
Well, I first is very clear that my interest also has something to do with history. We were in Ekiti State where observers were maltreated, security agents broke into hotels, and then you heard the IG saying that there will be raids, that they are going to raid hotspots and the rest of them. That raised very serious concern.
How does observers, how do you mistake them as political party talks?
Then we are dealing with the issue of professionalism and good conduct from the officials that will be sent out. If you give that blanket raid, then it means that even journalists can be hardened into somewhere in the name of being miscreants and hoodlums. So we need to be clear in terms of the rule of engagement, and that was the point that I was making.
You said something yesterday profound. You said you are not interested in the outcome of the process.
Absolutely.
But the process.
Yes.
From the process, we begin. Isn't it time to start taking a stock from pre-election to post-result announcement and give assessment and give positions and percentage?
Yes, the watching the votes that Yaga runs in Anambra State. It has already issued 4. In fact, the final pre-election listing will be given to the media today. So there has been tracking right from even the continuous voter registration process, and that is why I said that the election is not an event; it's a process, it's a cycle. So if you are able to track the different stages of this process, then you are able to conclusively have confidence in perhaps the integrity. The integrity of the electoral process. And that's what is important. Many times we are not interested in whether this election, whether Anambra gubernatorial election will stand electoral integrity test. And what will be that? Election security is important. We want to know, Ayo, whether, for instance...
We have to leave it here, but Ezewagu, you can be rest assured that we keep tab on what the Watching the Vote is doing, and from time to time we'll be talking to you. That is Ezewagu, the chairman of Watching the Vote and Partners for Electoral Reforms. Mike and Ngozi, over to you in Lagos.
All right, Ayo, before I let you go, let me ask you one question. Those who are monitoring the election from outside Anambra State are very concerned, especially the activity or the impact of IPOB on how the process is going to turn out. What's the level of security? Can you give us an update of what that is?
Yes, from what I've seen since I've gotten here, I think the issue of IPOB is just something that you see on the pages of newspaper and internet blogs, as in terms of how it's a real threat to this electoral process. It's not a threat. I can tell you that it's not a threat. This election will be held. We have 26,000 policemen, and anywhere you go in Anambra State now, the presence of security personnel will be felt, and they're even assisted by all other paramilitary security agencies, NSCDC and everything. So talking in terms of, I don't know about Onitsha, but what I've seen in Oka, because I know they have their stronghold in Onitsha, but I can tell you that the Indian Anambras, they are ready to vote and choose the next governor. It's going to be a keenly contested exercise, and from what we've seen in INEC, it's going to be free, it's going to be fair, and whoever emerges from this exercise will actually be the true representation of what the people want. And from what I saw yesterday in APC rally and the body language of Mr. President I've seen with his order that security should be restored to the governor of Anambra State, you will know that the president is ready to be as impartial as he has always been.
A good one there. It's possible by the time Ayo gets back from Anambra, he'll be speaking some Igbo. You hear the way he said, Ndi Anambra.
Ndi Anambra. All right. Thank you very much, Ayo, for giving us all of that. All right, let's come back to the studio.
Dan Ekere, of course, is still with us right here as a lecturer, a senior lecturer at University of Lagos. Okay, you heard what our guest there, Zenwa, said in, speaking with Ayo there, that it's not really the outcome of the election that they're concerned about, but the process that will get to the outcome.
Yes, well, I think that's a good one, but I'm concerned about everything. Yeah, but the process and the outcome, because the process should produce an outcome that reflects the process normally. However, we have found out sometimes the outcome does not reflect the process. Because I have been part of an election where we collated votes from unit to unit and a particular candidate won, Then at the point of collation of that particular area, figures change. Don't forget that a mere addition of a zero
can mean a lot.
Yes, and that was what happened. But the process all through to that point went on well until that very... and that produced a different outcome. So we should be concerned about everything. However, he has an organization, and that is what the organization has committed itself to doing. And others will be concerned about what happens from there, because the electoral process is not just about voting. Even the campaign periods are part of the process. What about voters' registration?
Yes.
You find a situation whereby for you to register, you have to go to local government centers, and in some areas, the local government headquarters might be very far from, the various communities where people are to participate. Interestingly too, you find situations whereby there are no roads to in some places, and some have to go by, speedboats and the rest of it. Now, some of them are not feeling the impact of governance. Then you expect them to take their hard-earned money and transport. So you need to bring the registration closer to them. The polling units, there should be a way of sustaining registration at the various polling units. It should be a continuous exercise so that people can always, because day by day people attain the age of voting. So we need to make a process that will ensure that everybody participates effectively and fairly.
All right, when it comes to the candidates, we just hear about 5. We hear about just 5. But
are they more than that?
37.
There are 37 candidates.
I wonder if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Now, one would say this is the beauty of democracy. Throw it open. But the point there is, that 30. One way or the other, these are 37 minus 5, you're going to have about 32. Now, these 32 are certainly going to have maybe 10 votes, 20 votes, 100 votes. Exactly. They have people voting for them in all of this. But one would say that there could have been some level of alignment and realignment.
So you don't have that many
so that you don't have that kind of a bloated list that will not mean anything at the end. Yeah, but interestingly too, you find out that some people just want to make the name that I contested governorship election. So no matter what you offer,
so it adds to the CV.
They will not even want to budge at all. So you could leave them for them to attain whatever they have set out to achieve in terms of I contested sometime and all of that. And again, perhaps we're equally anticipating some kind of negotiation. And for you to negotiate with a candidate, you need to see his strength. it is the strength that you have that will determine how negotiate. If I know that, if I knew so clearly that in your own word I will beat you to it in the game, what is the point coming to offer you anything?
Exactly.
All right. So those things could be considered.
All right. Speaking of strength, conversely, when it comes to the candidates selling themselves or their ideas to the voters, there was this debate last week that threw up quite a lot. I wonder how much that debate would have, clarified for the Anambra voter that this is a person for the job.
Well, it is hard to tell what it will look like. But I remember in 1993, the presidential debate threw up a lot of issues. Because then, Tofa was contesting, Abiola was in the game, and there was this debate. And I remember clearly, too, that a lot of my friends from the Southeast have this, attitude that they've not been, Yorubas have not been their best, allies in terms of politics. And so they are going to vote for Tofa, they were going to vote for Tofa. But at the debate, somebody raised a very critical question. Now, Tofa used to be a publisher of a particular paper where he raised very sensitive issue of, religion. That if you are not a Muslim, then you are not fit to live. And this thing took place around 70 something or 60 something. The man kept the paper and he brought it and he raised the question before Tofa. This was your publication. You wrote this thing.
What do you have to say about this?
That turned the trend. Are you saying it? So all those who were saying that we will not eventually began to campaign for Abiola in my neighborhood. So, but on this particular election, I don't know how that is going to turn out because there are a lot of people who equally don't listen to that. And interestingly, they are all from the same place. Unlike the Abiola's, Tofa saga, where you have a different background. They are all from the same place. They have families within the place and all the rest. But I'm seeing a situation whereby the election is going to be keenly, contested among these five.
Yeah, because you have contestants between the ages of, 40, early 40s and early 60s.
Yes, the likes of the Obianos, though looking very young.
Yeah,
but,
63.
Yes, and then the Oselokas, the, what do you call it?
Oseloka
is the Emos and the Warriors and the rest of them. But I think in all of that, where you leave it to a fair process, obviously the mind of the people will be reflected. But again, I have a challenge with the whole attitude of, the way democracy operates. What is the total, population of Anambra? What is the total number of registered voters?
Well, we're expecting
now, again, out of about 2 million thereabout, you are not likely going to have up to 1.5 voters. So you see how the fate of people is usually, determined. It's a very big challenge. So the electoral body need to carry out serious, conscientization. You need to, create an enabling environment for people not to only, be conscious of the system, but to be motivated to the point of coming to participate in the system. Because it's that participation that is really critical.
All right. Now, we spoke with Ayo earlier on, and he's saying, when I was asking a question about IPOB and the activity and the influence they have on the system, he has allayed the fear and said that, well, everybody, things are going there normal. Now, this will be good news for democracy because when anyone is saying there won't be election, you know the implication of that. Yes. But even though we know that IPOB may not be able to influence the outcome of the election or the process of the election because of security and all of that, but the idea is still within people. But do you think some persons is going to make some people stay away?
Yeah, it's very likely. You see, though the threat might not be very potent, considering the security arrangements being made, but there are persons who would want to tell their wards, please stay at home. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether what they are saying is real or not. What I'm interested in is seeing you alive. After all, after the votes, nothing will come to you. And you look at it truly, at the end, what do I benefit? Obiano has been there almost 4 years. There are communities that certainly will not have benefited. So when such people get this kind of threat, what do you think will be their disposition? They are likely going to say, well, after all, for the past 4 years, nothing has gone. Why kill myself? Because you never can tell what will happen.
However, but I want to believe have their job cut out for them to enlighten, whether it's INEC, to ensure that these people are actually educated on what they need to do. The security apparatus to give people that confidence that, look, it doesn't matter what those people are saying. After all, they are proscribed.
It's very important.
You know, so you can be sure that you will be protected. 27,000 police officers, you know, security men will be deployed.
There would have been a better approach, because I want to believe that the IPOB members, whether known or unknown, could have been brought into the process as well. You know, it's just like the OPC in the Southwest. You know, for some people, OPC was like a terrorist group. But there are a lot of people who see OPC as their security agents. So they could have done something like that that would give them confidence that truly, but so far they have been proscribed, they've been declared a terrorist organization, and when even more terrorist organizations have not been so described.
Well, that's a totally different thing. Now, what do Anambrarians really want as they go to the polls? Are you able to decipher? Is it change? Is it continuity? Is it a total departure from the past? You know,
I have not really
what
seen
do you
a
think
reflection.
would be the predominant
Yeah, I've not seen a
issues
reflection of, you know, that spirit of change. I've not seen that. All they are interested, from what I have seen and the few interactions I've had, is to build on what has been done so far, and that's kind of consolidation. That is to say that they will be throwing more challenge to whoever is there, that, well, so far we have laid a foundation, you need to up your games to extend that people will begin to see more light in it. But again, change is one thing that people don't see as a very easy thing to come by. People are usually having this allergy towards change. But when the system provokes people to the point of wanting a change, it will be so obvious. I don't think it has got to that point. However, that is not to say that the other candidates don't have, you know, their own chances. You know, but so far, if everything is to go the way a genuine election should go, I think change is not likely to be the situation.
All right, but let me talk.
I'm
let's
almost
talk
thinking
about,
I shouldn't have asked that question.
No, it's fine. But let's talk about the incumbent, former Governor Peter Obi. When he did all that he did for the state and brought in someone that should continue from there. And in his mind, it is meant to consolidate what he had started. But in the past few years, former Governor Peter Obi and Willie Obiano have not been
the best of friends.
Best of friends.
He's been his number one contender, as a matter of fact.
What will this have? What impact will this have on the chances of
the incumbent?
To a large extent, I think it's going to have a devastating effect on the incumbent's chances. But even the incumbent himself has secured himself to a point that he can go all alone in terms of, you know, his relationship with the people and all of that. You know, we had a similar situation from OBJ and Dr. Ebele Jonathan. You know, he brought him on board, and at the end of it. Now, sometimes when people bring those confidants on board, the tendency is that they want them to act like robots. You know, that shouldn't be.
And they kick.
Yeah, you know, so you should bring people on board with the expectation that they can carry on without you. You know, and all the allegations of the billions they left. And again, I really have a challenge with governors leaving so much billions where there's so much work to be done. For me, I feel you were bereft of ideas at that point. You know, so
it's not something to celebrate.
But you saw how he had around 6.something billion in his account, and there were so many. There are no good roads. Health, you know, services are not working. The education system is not, you know.
So what's the point saving all the money?
So what do you save it for? You should invest it in the system. I'm not saying that you should wreck the pause, but at least invest the resources. Though Peter Obi did his best, but I felt that he should have done more, considering the fact that he had so much resources that he alleged that he left in the coffers. Now,
well, according to him, he blocked a lot of loopholes, you know, wastage
there's
and
nothing.
what have you.
We're talking about blocking.
Peter Obi
he could have blocked loopholes.
We're not talking about
there.
Peter Obi, just like Obiano.
The debate is about the same thing they were talking about, excess crude account. What is excess when you've not even taken care of the basic thing?
When there's infrastructure deficit.
Because remember the past.
How do you claim that you have so much savings? You have 5 billion naira in your savings, and meanwhile you are owing 10 billion naira. Are you really having anything in your account in that, you know, situation? It shows that you are indebted. So that's the kind of scenario you find in governance. You find out that even the United States is owing so much, but you see them doling out, you know, grants to people here and there. But sometimes again, it has its own impact. You have a way of trying to bring people to your side, by virtue of those grants and, you know, the fine face you do to them.
All right, so one of the candidates says, look, the days of, you know, paper qualification are gone. That when I get the chance, if I do get the chance, I'm going to focus more on education that has to do with skills, that impacts, you know, vocational, you know.
I remember that was Chief Godwin Ezemo.
Well, I didn't mention it.
Yeah, you don't need to mention,
I'm
but
only
I'm
just saying
it,
that, you know, those are. Do you think in terms of clear, you know, identification of the vision for the state, that these major contenders, 5 of them, have actually been able to clearly say, look, this is where the direction we want to go.
Yes.
And this is why you should follow us.
Yes, indeed, they've made their own statements. They've shown clearly what they represent, what is time to achieve. And yes, the question of skill acquisition and the rest is very critical. And I think that even...
Especially for a state like Anambra.
Even though, generally, anybody from the East, or generally from the East, you find a lot of people who are, you know, skilled in one way or the other, even without going to skill acquisition centers. So that would be a very good thing for, you know, for him to bring to bear. But that, you see, that is to say that it's going to limit Anambrarians to the schools within Anambra. I don't know if it's equally intended that the men and women from Anambra will go outside to study, whether he's now going to change the curriculum of other institutions.
In those places.
Yes, to now be the kind of, you know, it is important. But again, both the theoretical and the practical aspects are important. However, one thing is to say it, another thing is to bring it to bear. All right? So how do you intend to bring all of this? Because when you listen to the gladiators, they spoke very well. You listen to this one, you feel like, this is the best.
That's where to go. That's the way to go.
So that confusion, but again, you equally need to look at track records. How well have they carried on? How well have they carried on in their private, you know, lives? And again, some of them who are contesting now, how did they come about the resources that they have? Well, how can we guarantee that these are people who are...
I still refer to the debate. One of them said, look, you've never held public office.
Yes, I listened to
the other one said, look, you were with the UN.
Yes.
It's time for you to go to Syria, where you can distribute.
Now, one was saying that, but again, there was a response that, well, at 30-something, we're already making our marks as ministers. But even at 60, you were in a bank that you cannot say was one of the best. You know? So the responses were not really addressing
the issues, exactly.
The issues that people are interested in is how you are going to deliver, you know, what democracy ought to bring about on their table.
All right, now INEC is in the center of all of this. We have always seen in many of the elections conducted late arrival of materials to so many places. You mentioned terrains, accessibility of terrains earlier on. What will INEC do to try to overcome such kind of challenges?
Yes, logistics. It is critical to election. You see, particularly where you have terrains that are undulating. You have the riverine and the rest of it. Sometimes for you to deliver materials to these places, you need to go by boat and all the rest, and some of them take a long time. I expect that sensitive materials should be well monitored, but they should make effort to ensure that these things arrive at the right time.
Yes.
However, you know, how they get there is critical too, so that we don't truncate the entire system. Because this is what they are saying, that they have printed this, they've printed that. There are people, we have plenty of Oluwoles, because we've had cases where you have result, you see a semblance. It's as good as the original.
So people will be wondering what you mean by Oluwole.
Oluwole
is where you get the faith of anything. So now, this new, innovations by INEC, announcing results at the polling centers.
Yes,
you think it's a good...
It's a good development. But I'm even saying that we've had that. I just gave you a scenario. How we announce results from unit to unit. But at the end of the day, there was still a change at the collation center. All right? Now, but this time around, they said they are going to paste the results on the maybe notice board at the ward. You have it pasted, you have it with the agents, and then maybe the electoral officers will equally have their own copy that they will take to the place. So now that we are in an electronic world, people will begin to take a shot of those things, and there should be a place or a channel, a spot they can send it to. And INEC should be able to make, should be able to make, you know, a comparison between what is being sent to them and what they are declaring. But interestingly too, this idea of, you know, there was a security challenge, so they couldn't declare results at that spot, they have to move it to somewhere. INEC equally need to fight that particular, because I know of a situation where election was conducted, a particular candidate ordinarily should win, but the returning officer refused to declare results in the guise of security challenges. They have to move to the state, you know, headquarters before results were declared. And at that point,
that process,
anything can happen.
So that has to be worked against, so that the results that we are going to declare at the polling units will be a reflection of what we are going to get at the end of the day. I have been a returning officer. I mean, I have been a returning officer in the most populous local government in Lagos, Limosho. I've done it in Oshodi Solo, you know, and I know what I saw.
Maybe that was analog days. Now
no, not really analog. I'm talking of something of...
not too far.
All right.
Yeah, the election I brought in Jonathan. That was not analog. Really.
Okay. Dr. Daniel Kere, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's always a pleasure being on this platform.
Exactly. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned for all our bulletins later on in the day as we monitor the election in Anambra State, and certainly Saturday will be the day, and we'll bring you all the analysis, and our correspondents will be on ground. Shortly now will be time for the news update. Stay with us on The Breakfast.